Vidute kalpana jalam gambirudar murtahe Naman samanta badriya samanta trishe Venerable monks, distinguished educationist, panelist, Honorable Kalun, Secretary, the Department of Education, CTA, and all the friends present here. I was asked to make a keynote address in this very important symposium on Enhancing Tibetan School Education. I'm not fit person for this job. However, since my colleagues and friends have insisted, I have to agree to do this. Of course, I will not be able to make justice. Nevertheless, I will fulfill the decorum or the program. Every program you need to be a opener, inaugurator, or keynote address, something like that. So this is a formality which is attached to our way of doing. Why I say I am not qualified to do this job, because it is on education. I myself considered as an uneducated person, lazily and happily living in the 7th century civilization and without caring for the modernity or postmodern civilization. Sometimes I wonder how I survive in this 21st century, carry a living way of 7th century civilization. Of course, we get a little bit of shiksha that cannot be considered as education. Why I say I am uneducated? I am not touched by the force of education, particularly coming from the British Empire, Macaulay system. So that I may consider I am quite fortunate enough. And secondly, the medium is English language for this symposium, a language which I do not have any capacity to express myself fully without any problem. In spite of that, I am here, so I have to say a few things which may not be useful or practicable. Many may think what I am speaking is a kind of utopia idea. But nevertheless, what I have in my mind, I shall have to honestly say before you. The title for the symposium, Enhancing Tibetan School Education. So I am not able to correctly understood what does mean by enhancing. Enhancing can be in quantity, Enhancing can also be in quality, or it can be interpreted many ways. But my understanding is that enhancing means whatever education we are conducting, in the name of education we are conducting in the schools, should have a more holistic way and more training of the mind instead of training of the heart, training of the brain alone. The training of heart must be included in our process of educating the younger generation. So I took it as enhancing the way and the quality of the education which are prevailing today. If I look from the Buddhist viewpoint, all the phenomena in this universe are all interdependently arising thing. Not a single phenomenon is arising independently or by its own nature. This is the Buddha's basic teaching and elaborately commentated by Acharya Nagarjuna. So in this way, to improve the quality of education or learning process, it has many contributors to make it interdependently arising. The contributors are two nature. One is in the process of causality. The cause of quality education should be improved, thereby the quality of education itself can be improved. And the second is the immediate contributors. When the process of learning during itself, how to make it is more qualitatively, the same 10 contributors are more important than the causality contributors. First, what are the cause of good education which can be imparted to the younger generation? They need a number of clear vision or understanding. Here, when I use the word understanding, it meant for experiential realization, not a blind faith. I use the word blind faith is all those mindset which is accepting something which was said by someone else and not knowing by oneself. That all belongs to a kind of blind faith. Understanding and accepting is a two different things. Actually, education is to make the students to understand by their own intellect, not to believe someone said It may be Buddha. Buddha have emphatically said that do not believe what I have said. You should examine it by yourself. Like a goldsmith examines the gold by cutting it, by burning it in the fire, and by rubbing it on the stone. Like that, whatever I have said, you shall have to analyze and examine, and then you understand whether I have said right or the wrong. Then that is your knowledge. So for a good education, the educators, the parents, and the school administration, all of these three components are important contributors. And they should know few things perfectly. The first is what is education? The second is what is the purpose of the education? The third is what is the method to impart that? These three components must be understood, not just having knowledge, but experiential understanding is absolutely necessary. Particularly for the teachers, this is indispensable. And very briefly, I would say what is the education? What is the nature of education? Education, in Buddhist term, there are three things: the moral discipline, the concentrative mind, and the wisdom. This threefold entity is shiksha, that means education. To have an education, through that education, the educated person must be able to understand what is ethical and what is not ethical, and how to lead an ethical life. Moral discipline is the first thing. And secondly, the mind should be able to free from all kind of destruction and able to concentrate on one point deeply. And the third is thereby awakening of the inner wisdom. The final education is cannot be imparted from outside. It shall have to be arising from within. My friend, philosopher and guide, Jiddu Krishnamurti used to say very repetitively, the purpose of education is to awakening inner intelligence of the individual, so that he or she can flower in goodness. If the inner intelligence is arising, awakening, then the person need not to be taught what is good and what is bad, and it will flower automatically in goodness. So therefore, the nature of education is to help, to assist the learner, the student, how to awake the individual's inner strength of wisdom which is disturbed by so many conditionings, and that conditions to need to be removed, and independent and unconditioned. Sometimes I used to call it original mind, need to be awakened. That can only happen, the teacher and the student both works jointly as a collective learner, and not accepting anything which is not realized as a conclusion of one's own analytical mind. So that is the nature of education. The purpose of education must be human individuals are basically non-violent, compassionate, and cooperator. Human beings are always social being. In the West End, they used to say it's a social animal. Why should we call the man as animal? We are social beings. Social being means we can live with the society. We are kind of society means a relationship. A crowd does not make a society. A relationship can only be positive when both sides have a loving kindness. And loving kindness is a basic nature of human mind. So to awakening of that mind metaphorically say resides in the heart. So brain and heart has two different functions. The purpose of education, His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama says, warm heart. Warm heart means compassionate heart. There should be purpose. And the method, the method. Method is very clearly described in the Buddhist teachings. First, knowledge from hearing. Hearing means from hearing from the teacher or reading from the books, whatever it may be. The second is contemplating, chintan. Shrutimai pragyan is the first one. That is borrowed knowledge, taught by teacher or read from books or hearing from the traditions, whatever it may be. There is a borrowed knowledge, and that borrowed knowledge shall have to be converted into one's own knowledge through examination, through analyzing. That is chintanmaya pragyan. And through that analyzation, you reach to a conclusion or the facts, knowing the facts. Then you shall have to be meditate on that. By meditation, then that conceptual mind will be converted into perceptual mind, direct knowing, direct seeing, and that is the Chintanmaya Pragyan. The Chintanmaya Pragyan is the real education. Then that is not borrowed knowledge, that is knowledge depend on brain, that knowledge appearing from, awaking from inner person, from the heart. So that kind of method we need to be understood. The teacher the students, the parents, and the school administration, administrators, everybody have sufficient knowledge of, sufficient knowing of this nature of education, purpose of education, and method of educating, then they will capable of running a school or administering a kind of educational institution which may be beneficial to the entire younger generation, whosoever is getting that education. Now the present contributor, not the cause of the contributor, which contributor goes through at the moment of the learning process. The contributors are the teacher, the students, and the course of syllabi and method of teaching. These are the immediate contributors. From the opposite viewpoint, the entire education is depend on the teacher. Unless and until the teacher has basic 10 qualities to become a teacher, which is prescribed by Maitrinath in his great work, Sutra Alankar. He mentioned 10 basic qualifications to become a teacher. So I don't have time to go into the details, but the indispensable qualities are: number 1, compassionate mind, great love to the student, and secondly, perfect knowledge of the subject which is going to be taught. And thirdly, a humanity to do the learning process not as a teacher and taught, but as a co-learner, joint searching for the subject. The teacher might be very proficiency in his subject, yet when they imparting the knowledge to the students, again the teacher shall have to become a student, jointly searching the subject, something like that. So, there is shortcomings in the qualification of a student. The teacher must have the capacity to remove those shortcomings. When I was a school principal, my colleague teachers used to complain to me, the students are not taking interest. So when I used to say, the interest has to be created by you. You are, as a teacher, If you are not able to create interest in the mind of student, then how we can be claimed? It cannot be blamed for the students. The interest does not come right from the birth. The interest shall have to be cultivated and giving the understanding the purpose and importance of education, thereby the students shall able to take interest. Without knowing that, the education become just labor, burden, then it will not work properly. Then similarly, roughly there are number of different methods, as I mentioned before, and also as a co-learner, the teacher will be able to create intense interest and curiosity in the mind of the student. Thereby, the student, without needing any pushing or fear of examination, only for the sake of understanding and wisdom, he or she able to work intensely, full-heartedly, due to the knowing the purpose of education and having great inspiration for that purpose of education, and by that he or she doing the learning process, then it will never feel tiredness or difficult for the student, but it must be a part of happiness and enjoyable. That shall have to be created by the subject as well as by the teacher. And usually in the present system, reward and punishment are being used as a handy method of giving education to the students. Someone giving reward and someone be giving punishment. And the basis of this, the evaluation system, the examination system. If we deeply examine the examination system, you will find it is more finding out what the students do not remember. It cannot find out what the students know, what is the special quality of the student. Particularly, one thing the modern education system almost completely forgotten is the uniqueness of each student. I mean, the uniqueness of each individual. In humanity, each individual humanity has a different capacity, different quality, different liking and disliking. Why the Buddha taught the students nothing goes in West, and ordinary people taught students, most of them goes West. And Arahanta or Bodhisattva, Arya Bodhisattva, then they are taught, majority of this become useful. It is said in the Shastras. Why? Buddha knows the particularity of the listener. Each individual has a different nature or different way of knowing things or all these things. it is very clear in this earth, globe of earth, we say 8 million people are living. Among the 8 million people, you will not able to find 100% identical face. Even the twin children, they are also little bit different. So it shows that each individual is unique, different from the other. So our education system is a kind of uniform way of imparting. So the individual attention is become less and less. So a good teacher must be able to know we cannot know entirely, but roughly we should be able to comprehend or inference what kind of children, what kind of individual is liking, disliking, and also capacity, and what kind of education shall be given to them. So these are the basic important to have in-depth research of each individual student, to whom what kind of treatment, what kind of subject, what kind of way to suitable. So in a short, individual attention is most important. So these are the basic contributors: the teacher, the children, the parents, and the school administration. And their relationship must be a kind of collaborator to achieve the purpose of education. So that makes a real educational institution, and through which we may hope that purposeful and the very nature of education can be achieved. So this symposium have been very rightly arranged, and very well-known great educators and scholars have been invited, and they have kindly agreed to come. And this is, I appreciate great achievement of the Department of Education. And they also planned this very well. The points to be considered, to be discussed, the agenda and agenda notes are very well prepared. And I hope in the 2 days deliberation you will gain a lot of insights how to do in the future. But the agenda number 3, about the decreasing of newcomers in the admission in the schools, that may not be that problem may not be solved by the educators, by these experts you have invited. It is always depend on the basic population of the refugee community. So for that, the department shall have to be think about, and of course there's no method to increase population immediately, but in accordance with the decreasing population, the management, the administration, how to deal with it. Apart from that, the other 4 questions are very important, and I very much confident that the scholars who have joined this symposium will give you very profound advice, and the more important is those advice and directions shall have to be implemented in work. That is always depend on the department. And you have a good staff and good leadership and educationist Kalun. So I think this is a very best time to do something for the improvement of the education of the Tibetan children. Tibetan children has a unique universal responsibility. The unique universal responsibility is to preserve and hand it over to the coming generation. Coming generation, it does not mean only for the Tibetan new generations. The entire world, which we have preserved until now, that is Buddhist teaching and Buddhist canon. Today, the Tibetan language is the only language in which the entire corpus of the Buddha's teaching is preserved and available. This language is very similar to the Sanskrit language. Whatever is expressible in Sanskrit, that is expressible in Tibetan language. And only in this language, the entire canon, the Buddha's teachings, Buddha's own words, sutras and tantras, translated into Tibet. Only Digi Kanjur catalog, there are more than 1100 Buddha's teachings have been translated. And the Indian scholars' commentaries in the Tanjore, more than 5,000 titles have been translated. Kanjur is 108 volumes in Puthe, and Tanjore is about 220 volumes. So this is the largest corpus of Buddhist canon, which does not available in any other language, including Pali. Pali Tripitaka is very small, only 40 volumes. They included all the Tripitaka, and there's a very small amount of commentaries. So unless the Tibetan language is preserved, these canons will not be useful. Even they are translated, the projects are going on, the entire Buddhist canon from Tibet is trying to translate into the English and other languages. 100-year project is going on. But any other language has the capacity to translate the canon accurately, as Buddha have said, whatever language he have used at that time, because the language capacity The Buddha's teachings are available in Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit. These three languages are basically Buddha have taught. And all these three languages are a group of Sanskrit language, and which no any other language have the capacity to translate in 100% accurate. So therefore, the language is important not only for the Tibetan people. What the language have preserved, the corpus of canon, is important for the entire universe. And for that purpose, we were not able to preserve and hand it down to the new generation. Then we will be a kind of failing our universal responsibility and failing our responsibility to history, to the Dharma. So therefore, the education of the Tibetan younger generation has not only important for Tibetan people and its political struggle, it has a great responsibility for the preservation of Buddhism, its philosophy, its science, and its religion all together. So, therefore, the education of Tibetan children has a dual purpose and importance which need to be understood. I welcome all these scholars coming from distances, and hopefully you have no problem during stay here, and might have time to see little bit around the Dharamshala as well. It was very beautiful when we reached here in 1960. Now, of course, that beauty does not have today. In spite of that, there are some places worthwhile to sing. So, thank you very much. With these words, I will conclude. Not keynote address. I doesn't have any key to open the discussion, nor I have any note to be read. So in spite of that, it may be considered as Madhyamikas as keynote address. Thank you.